They promised that Chrissy would ride for Jim no matter what. But today she isn't riding and is sobbing uncontrollably in the middle of traffic. The paramedics had to remove her from the sidewalk because just hours ago, Jim Jones was dragged out of his studio in handcuffs, humiliated and exposed. And guess who started it all? Cameron's or anyone else. They didn't release a clip. Instead, they leaked a damn documentary that contained voice notes, deleted texts, and security footage from a hotel that Chrissy was unaware of. Views like wildfire, and then it gets worse. The voice in that video wasn't Jim's. It was someone much too close to Chrissy saying things that made the entire relationship feel like a long setup. Isn't love and hip-hop drama? This is betrayal on a level no one was prepared for, and now that the internet is blowing up and Harlem is in disarray, Chrissy just whispered something under her breath that made even the police freeze. He told me that this would happen if I ever spoke the truth. But just when everyone thought things couldn't get worse for Chrissy, the situation took a terrifying turn. Word spread that she was being followed not by fans or paparazzi, but by what insiders are now referring to as a private surveillance unit. According to several sources, Cameron's cousin, who formerly worked private security for a well-known politician, is now keeping tabs on Chrissy's whereabouts for reasons no one is willing to publicly acknowledge. One anonymous tipster even stated, "They're not just watching her, they're waiting for something." Nobody knows what that something is, but Chrissy's expression of fear when she was spotted at a gas station in New Jersey. The entire story was told by hands shaking, pacing back and forth, and whispering on the phone. This is where things really go south. Cameron's aunt. Yes, the same aunt who used to be at odds with Chrissy over a backstage incident at BET in the early 2000s leaked a handwritten letter to a gossip page, claiming that Chrissy was the one who told law enforcement about Jim's covert meeting with former crew members who were under federal surveillance. If that's the case, then it's beyond betrayal. It's war. Let's take a moment to consider that isn't just a tabloid rumor. Chrissy, the informant, became a trending topic on Black Twitter overnight. One user wrote, "Like if El Chapo's girl snitched," and cried on IG Live, "I'm not buying it," while another said, "She cried too hard." That's guilt, not grief. The letter is signed, dated, and contains fire. One line literally reads, "Chrissy always knew the streets weren't built for Jim." And now she's playing cleanup crew to save her own skin. What about the broken video now? The video, which Cameron's family released online around the time this letter was dropped, was edited to look like a Netflix documentary trailer. It begins with security footage from a Manhattan rooftop lounge showing Jim passing a mysterious envelope to a hooded figure. There is no audio, just a chilling silence. 5 minutes later, Chrissy is seen getting out of an Uber, looking nervous, scanning the block, and then there are flashing lights, FBI jackets, and Jim in handcuffs. But here's the catch. Cameron's cousin, who uploaded the video, added this. Here's what the world didn't see in the caption. She knew she led him there, and now we're witnessing a setup. Theories began to circulate on YouTube, Reddit, and even TikTok. And one well-known thread broke it down like a scene from a movie. Chrissy persuades Jim to reconcile with former affiliates in Scene 1. In Scene 2, she inadvertently suggests a time and location, knowing the Fed has been watching. In Scene 3, she arrives crying, aware of what is about to happen. And everyone loves it. Even Mona Scott, who has refrained from commenting on several messy situations in the cryptic story "Sometimes Silence Protects the Guilty" was uploaded by the past. Fans are convinced that was aimed at Chrissy. Now let's talk about the alleged financial paper trail. Multiple unverified reports claim that Chrissy opened a new offshore account 2 days before Jim's arrest and deposited a cool $250,000. And guess who wired it? A shell company owned by one of Cameron's uncles. Coincidence? Nobody thinks so. User even posted a screenshot of the alleged transfer with the caption, "She cashed in. Her boyfriend for influence and money." The story is getting out of control. Some claim that Chrissy is a government employee, while others claim that Cameron's family tricked her into believing Jim was going to leave her for a younger person. Regardless, the situation is messier than we've ever seen. And if you believe Jim is unaware of all this, insiders claim that he is refusing to answer her calls while incarcerated. Yes, he is simply ignoring her, the same woman who supported him through label disputes, her comebacks, and a dozen nearest the court. Date approaches. Chrissy has been seen going to church twice in a week, wearing sunglasses at night and walking with her head down. People close to her claim that she isn't sleeping, eating, or checking her phone constantly, as if she's waiting for another bombshell to drop. Just when we thought the story was slowing down, Cameron's sister jumped in. Yes, you read correctly. She posted a black and white photo of Chrissy and Jim with the phrase "a broken heart" as the caption. You were wiser. In less than 2 hours, that post received over 80,000 likes. And the comments were absolute chaos, with some calling for a full-fledged reunion special to air it all. Others defending her, and others demanding that Chrissy come clean. Chrissy had always been known for her tough exterior, the woman who had weathered the storm of love and hip-hop's chaos. And her fiery relationship with Jim, which seemed invincible, but behind closed doors in their home, things were far from perfect, and the public never saw the cracks. The moment those handcuffs clicked around Jim's wrists, it felt as though the universe had destroyed the life she believed she had built. As she stood outside the courthouse, her world came crashing down, not just because Jim was arrested, but also because of what she didn't know. The things that had been kept from her, and the very people she thought she could trust had turned on her. And now, as cameras flashed and night arguments or whispered fears, she had supported Jim through his legal troubles, his street connections, and the constant threats looming over him. Hours after Jim's arrest, the leaks began. First, series of private conversations between Jim and some of his closest confidants, now in Cameron's camp. Then, grainy at first but unmistakably real videos of Jim in a heated exchange with an unidentified person, clearly discussing plans that had nothing to do with his life. And finally, social media exploded with rumors about Cameron's family, the very people Jim had known like his own, dropping a devastating piece of evidence for which no one was prepared. Had developed with Chrissy, the weight of these revelations was like a tidal wave. And Chrissy was left drowning in confusion and anger as a result. Her phone was buzzing nonstop with message after message flooding in with the same shocking news. Cameron's family had evidence that could implicate not only Jim but her as well. It was a betrayal unlike any other. The same people who had once called her family were now responsible for this devastating leak. Chrissy tried to remain composed, but the tears soon started to fall, and the facade of composure quickly disintegrated. As the leaks, the world was desperate for answers. And Chrissy was left to answer a question she couldn't even begin to process. How much of Jim's life had she truly known at this point? The media had portrayed Chrissy as the tragic figure, the woman whose loyalty had led her down a dark and painful road. But the story wasn't over with the videos, photos, and messages. The public couldn't stop tweeting, posting on Instagram, and using every other platform. Starting back at the Yee house, Chrissy had to contend with a new conflict between her private and public lives. The woman who had previously dominated reality TV was now in the merciless spotlight. And everyone who had ever been a part of their lives, friends, associates, and others, was suddenly a potential suspect in this developing scandal. Jim's arrest was just the beginning. What followed was the disintegration of a life that Chrissy had built on a shaky foundation. But if Jim was involved in something this serious, why had Cameron's family waited until now to expose M? The true reason for the leak was that Chrissy wasn't just fighting to clear Jim's name anymore, she was fighting to clear her own. The following day, a surprise visit to the lawyer's office took an unexpected turn. With the weight of the situation bearing down on her shoulders, Chrissy entered the sterile office, But what the lawyer told her next would change the course of the entire story. "There's something you need to know," he said quietly, barely raising his voice above a whisper. "We've had eyes on Cameron's family for some time now. They've been building a case against Jim, and it seems they have been waiting for the ideal opportunity to attack. But you are unaware that the evidence they have made public was only a small component of a much larger scheme." As Chrissy listened, her mind was racing with questions about who was orchestrating this, what Cameron's family was hoping to accomplish, and, most importantly, was Jim the man she believed he was? Or had she been blinded by love all these years? Days went by, and the pressure on Chrissy increased as the rumors became more fanciful. The final revelation came late one night as Chrissy was going through her phone when a new message arrived from an unknown number. The message was brief and said, "The truth is worse than you think. You've been set up." Chrissy clicked the link and was shocked to see a new video that had never been seen before. The leaks had become more frequent, and the pressure to keep her composure was nearly unbearable. But one thing remained constant throughout it all: the feeling that something was missing. It wasn't Jim on the screen, but someone she hadn't anticipated. One of Jim's closest friends was caught in a conversation with none other than Cameron himself. It was obvious that Jim wasn't supposed to be the fall guy. This was a well-planned move that would bring down the entire empire Jim had worked so hard to build. The most terrifying part, though, was that Chrissy was in the background, unaware of the game being played directly in front of her. And as the screen went black, Chrissy's world fell apart again. The truth, if you can call it that, was far more sinister than Chrissy could have ever imagined. Jim was not just the man she had stood by for years. He was a pawn in a larger, more dangerous game that had been carefully orchestrated by people she thought she could trust. In the middle of all of this, Chrissy found herself caught between loyalty, betrayal, and an overwhelming need for the truth. When she watched that final video, everything she thought she knew about her life, Jim, and even about herself was shattered into a million pieces. Truth be told, the video that had suddenly surfaced was chilling. Cameron, the man who had once referred to Jim as his brother, was seen laughing with one of Jim's closest friends. At first glance, the conversation seemed casual, but it was obvious that the two were plotting a downfall that was much larger than Chrissy had expected. In the background, Chrissy was playing the supportive girlfriend, completely unaware of the chaos going on around her and the darker motivations at work in her heart. As she watched the video again, her mind was racing with unanswerable questions. The warning signs. How long had Cameron's family been plotting this betrayal? Was she merely a pawn, a tool in an unknowing game? The messages began to pour in shortly after the video went viral, appearing on every social media platform and gossip site. Everyone was talking about Chrissy, but it wasn't the support she had hoped for. The comment sections were full of accusations, judgments, and hateful speculative questions. Was she involved? The world had turned against her, and in the midst of the chaos, the one person she needed most, Jim, was in jail. His silence left her to fight this battle alone, but Chrissy wasn't one to back down. She had been through worse before, and if there was one thing she knew how to do, it was survive. She was a woman who had made a career out of reality TV drama and who had fought valiantly to keep her private life just that private. How long did she know about Jim's shady dealings? Was now thrust into the public eye in the most explosive way possible. The first step was obvious. She needed to know everything. In the middle of the night, Chrissy made a decision that would change everything. She decided to contact Cameron directly, a move that could make or break her because, after all, Cameron wasn't just any person. He was a man of power with his own agenda. Chrissy wasn't intimidated, though, because if she too learned the truth, she needed to go straight to the source. The phone call was tense in every word. Chrissy's voice trembled at first, but she soon found her strength. "I know what you've been doing," she said. "I know you've been behind everything, the leaks, the videos, the lies. I want to know why. Why are you doing this to Jim? There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and for a moment, Chrissy thought he was going to hang up. But then Cameron said in a low, measured voice, "You don't get it, Chrissy. It's not about Jim. It's never been about Jim. It's about you and your loyalty. You're the one." Chrissy's grip tightened around the phone. "So what? You think you're going to ruin him and ruin us?" "No," Cameron said in a cold tone. "I'm not ruining anyone. I'm just revealing who's been in the way all this time. You've been protecting him, covering for him, but you didn't know the full story." Chrissy felt the blood drain from her face. "What do you mean?" "Jim's in too deep," Cameron went on. "He's been making moves and pulling strings with people you don't even know. You've been blinded by love?" The phone call ended abruptly, leaving Chrissy standing in the middle of the room, her mind racing. Cameron had just confessed to everything, but there was more to this than he was telling her. There was a larger scheme at work, and she wasn't going to stand by and watch as everyone around her destroyed the life she had fought for. In the days that followed, Chrissy learned more about Cameron's background, his relationships, and his true motivations. It wasn't just about old grudges or street beef. It was about money, control, and a power struggle that spanned industries. However, in her quest for answers, Chrissy found something that would change everything. The evidence that had been leaked, those damning videos, photos, and texts, had been manipulated. And what she discovered left her reeling. Cameron's family and several other powerful figures had been pulling the strings behind the scenes, using Jim as a pawn in a larger game. As the drama unfolds, it seems like we're just scratching the surface of this explosive saga. Will Chrissy finally come clean about her involvement in Jim's arrest, or is this the ultimate betrayal of trust? One thing is for sure, though. This story is far from over, and we want to hear from you about what you think actually happened. Jim meant to break Chrissy and make her question everything she knew. The fight for her life and for her love was far from over. Chrissy wasn't just going to let Cameron or anyone else take everything from her without a fight. If you're as shocked by this turn of events as we are, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to hit the like button. If you're a bystander caught up in a mess, or you think something much darker is going on here, please make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you're the first to know when the next larger-than-life drama occurs. You know, we're on top of everything, bringing you the raw, unfiltered truth. So stay tuned until the real secrets are revealed. Just getting started.